Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special podcast discussion on Pet Cemetery. I'm your host, Rich Billy Jr., and tonight I'm joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How's it going, Dana?
It's going very well.
That's good to hear. And we would like to wish you well. We know you have been sick for a little while, so hopefully you are recovering, and hopefully tonight's movie helped you in the recovery process.
Yeah, it did something for the process.
So, for those that are curious, Pet Cemetery, um, yeah, there was an original Pet Cemetery that came out back in 1989. I will mention more about that later, but if you are watching this, then chances are either you have already seen Pet Cemetery or you are making plans to see it as officially comes out April 5th, Friday. So we had a chance to see it early tonight. Um, I saw it at a theater here in Atlanta. I know Dana saw it in New York. So
Yep.
just to give you all a quick premise overview of what this movie is about, essentially, it's about a family that moves. You know, they originally live in Boston. They decide to move out into the woods somewhere in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the house that they get, they move there, and of course there's all these things that happen because they discovered that there is a pet cemetery near the house. Um, so the whole thing about this pet cemetery, it's not like a regular pet cemetery. Obviously, there is a pet cemetery, but if you go beyond the pet cemetery, there's also an area where if you bury animals, then they come back to life, but they don't come back the same way that they were before. So obviously, the whole premise of the story is that there is a cat that they have that they call Church, named after Winston Churchill.
Winston, a
Yes,
old man from a long, long time ago.
yes. Well, the cat unfortunately passes away. Something happens to the cat. You know, they didn't really show in this particular movie what happened to the cat. I would assume the cat got hit by one of the trucks.
There's a couple of details that you're missing. Just a couple.
That's a couple. Uh oh.
Well,
Okay,
over
go. Okay,
they
go ahead. Go ahead. Fill in the details.
they give off this. They're kind of like this perfect family. A family of four, where there is the two children. One is, I would say, I'm failing when it comes to ages, but I would assume like a toddler age,
Yep.
maybe a little bit older than a toddler. And one just turned 9.
Yes.
She's about to turn 9. She's on the precipice of 9. So that little 8.5 or 8 and whatever. And so the father is a doctor,
Yes.
worked a lot, the grave shift in the hospital, which is like when you get to see every horrible thing that happens. And sometimes it's really dead and it's just really bad. And there's the wife who was, I'm not really remembering the details of her life aside from, I believe she's more like a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
Um, and she's dealing a lot with her past. And the kind of dynamic that's interesting and the overall theme of the movie is it deals a lot with death and what happens with the afterlife and a lot of grief and more of like, when you have a lot of regret in life because of someone who died. So it deals with a lot of that. And they decide to move to Maine, which Stephen King universe, we all know, is, you know, everyone goes to Maine eventually, where they have this, kind of country idyllic type of lifestyle that they want to have, where everyone could just more be at peace, be centered with nature and, trees and wilderness. And of course, this unbelievable acreage. I believe it's like a 5 acre kind of like field, basically, where they find out they own all of this property, which is really interesting. Is like when you buy a house and then you just don't know how much property you own. But okay, they find out when they're already there that they own roughly about 5 acres of land. And one of the parts of the land that they inherited is a cemetery, which is, a basic pet cemetery. And they don't really think anything of it. The kid, they're kids, so they're going to be always be curious. And what's the Pet Cemetery? And it deals a lot with like what death is, and they kind of the parents argue back and forth of whether or not they should introduce the truth to death instead of saying we're all going to heaven, or like what really happens. There's a lot of struggle of what happens when you die. And so they have this cat, this very beloved cat that kind of looks like a Maine Coon, but I fail at cat. Um, what do you call it? Cat genetics. So I'm not really sure what it is, but it looks Maine Coon. It looks like a Maine Coon. And it's really nice and it's really fluffy and it's really friendly. That you have to like state. It is this really friendly fur ball of a Maine Coon cat.
Yes.
And the daughter just adores the cat. And it's, that's my best friend. And, the cat's always right there sleeping with her and, purring and giving that nice, sweet meow type of thing. And during one of the event, well, I guess it's like just a regular day, the cat seems to be missing. They don't know where the cat is. And along within that, they have a next door neighbor who is played by John Lithgow, who knows a lot about the land. He's always that creepy old white dude that everyone seems to have in their kind of like their neighborhood, where he kind of knows a lot of things, but he doesn't tell anything, but he just stares at you really awkwardly. It's a lot of pensive staring that he does. And so he kind of explains the land and the property. And he unfortunately comes across the cat, which also should be mentioned. They have this amazing acreage of land, but for some reason, I guess, to make it really convenient, they're literally by this. It's not, I failed when it comes to geography. Would you call it like this road? And the road literally, for some reason, you never see cars on this road. You just see trucks, like 18-wheeler trucks. And they always seem to be going like 100 miles per hour. So the cat apparently gets hit, we're going to assume, by a truck. And I would say that because there was previously, during one of the shifts with the father, one of the students that was on like a college campus got hit by a truck, and their injuries between the cat and this boy who was in his 20s who got hit are roughly the same, where the side of the face is mangled and basically their brains are hanging out in the back.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm going to assume that the cat got hit by a truck. But you have to, what they do is it's very nice. They don't show any hittage of the cat, which is much appreciated. But the body is, kind of nicely placed on the ground, where John Lithgow, who plays the creepy neighbor who always knows something about the land, maybe talks to demons at night, he finds the cat, and the father is struggling what to tell the daughter because the daughter is so attached to the cat. And he's just, when you talk to yourself and you're monologuing and you're like, yeah, man, my daughter's going to be really, really devastated that the cat died. Oh, God, what do I do? Lord, show me a sign. And John Lithgow was like, I have one. Then there's a cemetery that they kind of alluded to earlier, that there is some weird mystical thing going on in this acreage because fog, lots of fog. Anytime you see fog, there's something mysterious going on. So continue. Sorry, I'm ranting.
Oh no. That was a very good overview. It's very detailed, and I think people will appreciate that. So yes, I mean, I think you said everything that needed to be said in terms of what happens.
It's just everything in the trailer.
Yeah. So to pick up off of what you said, after the cat is found,
Winston, which is actually
Winston,
no Churchill. Sorry, Church.
Yeah, Church.
That's a good name though. It's a strong.
Yeah. Well, that I find that to be a very ironic name, given that the wife believes in God, but the husband doesn't believe in God, which is
like a weird thing where they never really fully get into God in that kind of like really spiritual type of way.
Yeah.
But they kind of define it as a heaven and a hell.
Yeah.
And the husband is like, no, when you die, you just die and you melt away. You know, he still exists, and he's trying to tell his daughter is like 9 years old. And oh my god! So he's more like those. I fail at when it comes to the categorizing, but is it creation? She's a creationist. Is it a
Yeah,
creationist?
yeah. I think yeah. I think you can say that. Yes.
He's like a creationist, and he's like a science goes to the science path.
You talking about so basically
Yeah,
a Scientologist.
yeah. No, no. It's literally, you have science versus
Yes.
religion is the underlying theme, and they're kind of divided. But the husband decides because his daughter is so devastated, and you kind of don't want to traumatize a kid, even though he has no problem traumatizing this kid, but he doesn't want to do it because the wife is like pleading. He's like, the cat ran away and had an accident and
Yep.
floated to heaven, we think.
Yeah.
But yeah, but John Lithgow was like, I have a solution.
Yes. He does have a solution, and he decides to have him bury the cat in the pet cemetery.
Right.
Uh,
And there are two cemeteries. There's like the
yep.
pet cemetery for like Pookie and them, like and then there's like the pet cemetery for crazy people.
Yeah. The pet cemetery that that brings back the animals
It brings
or people.
it for a price. For a price.
Yes. Yes. For a price. So of course, follows his advice of doing that. And the thing about it is that John Lithgow in this particular role, just a very underhanded, just say, yeah, bury the cat here, and then doesn't say anything else, and then it's like he's sitting here like, what did this guy have me do? And then we find out later the cat comes back and has an attitude.
The
And
cat's like, apparently when you die and then when they bring you back, you're gonna be really angry about it. I don't know if the cat was like in heaven, enjoying all the peace in the world, chasing birds, living his best 9 lives, being brushed every day and groomed and like having baths with like warm water and you kicking your feet up. But he was really upset that they yanked him from his happy place. Like
yes,
just angry. And John Lithgow was like, ha ha ha, I told you. But it was weird because he never told him anything. He was like, I know a place you can bury your pet. Wink, wink. Nothing's gonna happen. Wink, wink.
exactly.
So
So of course, the cat is acting very weird. Starts to attack. He definitely attacks Ellie. She gets scratched. Uh, Also attacks the father. So obviously something is up with with the cat, and of course, we have our father character who decides to take the cat out. Decides to just basically ditch the cat somewhere. And it's funny because he already says, as John Lithgow said, or Judd, that's his character in the movie. As Judd stated, once you bring back this creation, it is your property, so it can come back to you. It doesn't matter if you wherever you put it at, it'll come back home.
Matt,
And
remember he said this after already doing the deed.
yes, after. Yeah, it came late. So yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, very, very underhanded character.
Yeah.
Um, so of course, what ends up happening is, you know, they things are weird. The family is not adjusting well to living in this new setting. They decide, well, we should change things up a bit. Let's have a birthday party for Ellie. Her ninth birthday party.
She's
And
nine.
And of course, during that party, now already she had already said before that she didn't. After she gets attacked by a church, she says, I don't want the cat anywhere near me. I don't want him coming back into my room. So that also prompts the father to say, okay, we need to get rid of the cat.
And
So
the cat is not like fluffy, happy furball that she loved. This cat visually looks like it has been traumatized
yes,
and that it is very angry that it's even breathing.
oh, absolutely,
This is like
absolutely.
pure. Imagine Cujo as a cat.
Oh man, you mentioned Cujo. That is an absolute classic.
We know there's a lot of cross references to Stephen King. Literally, the spirit of Cujo has entered into church.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So of course, to what essentially happens, you know, we do have the cat that comes back during the party for some reason. You know, he's the cat is walking in the street casually. You know, and of course the daughter sees the cat and she's like, "Oh, church." She's happy that the cat is back. Goes out into the street, and of course, meanwhile, the little boy, her brother, also runs out into the street. And then all of a sudden, here comes the truck driver. So, you know, one thing I will say real quick is I like how in the original movie and in this movie, they have shown, once again, people still don't know how to drive. And this is 30 years later. They still don't know how to drive. So the truck driver drives, almost hits the son, swerves. Of course, the father saves the son. But what I did like about this movie, interestingly enough, is that the cargo attached to the actual truck comes off and kills the daughter instead, because that was definitely not what happened in the original movie. Um, so, of course, unfortunately, it's a very tragic death for Ellie. And because the father doesn't know any better, he decides to bring his daughter to the exact same pet cemetery to bury her, and because he wants her to come back. Um, and as you can imagine, things don't quite turn out great.
That's an understatement. I mean, she and the cat have apparently bonded during that cemetery treat, and they're just not happy. Really
Oh
not
no,
happy.
oh no, they're definitely not happy. And of course, a lot of things happen. Chaos ensues.
A lot of
In the very
chaos.
people, yeah, a lot of deaths. You know, so on and so forth. So that's just a little quick, but still detailed premise of the actual film itself. But we're going to talk about the our thoughts on the film, so on and so forth. So, but the first question that I would like to ask is, now I know you saw the original movie.
Yeah,
So
I seen it multiple times. That would When I was a kid, it played on WPIX, which is now WB, which is now CW.
yes, okay. See, so before I get into more about the original, I first want to ask you, what did you like and did not like about what they did with this particular version of,
Okay.
of the film?
I think that they took the bones of the script or the novel,
Uh-huh.
and Stephen King writes very massive volumes, so it's not like something you can get over in like 400 pages. His books are easily 800 pages. I'm not sure of the number of pages on Pet Cemetery, but, and no offense to Stephen King fans, a lot of the time he includes details that's just way too much, and like 15,000 characters. So I felt if you took the novel and from the original Pet Cemetery, they took the bones of what made a movie and they just expanded with that and had more fun with that. And I think now, if you look at horror today, it's more fun than what it was when I was a kid. These little jokey jokes, and someone may get murdered, but this kind of, like, I hate to say lighthearted, but it's kind of like a fun approach to it. I appreciated that very much so, because the entire audience was just laughing their behinds off. Whether or not it was intentional, they were laughing their behinds off. But the problem that I had with this movie is that it felt like two different writers. And I timed it because here's the interesting part. Literally at the first half of the movie, right when you get to the part where the cat dies and they bring the cat back. So it's like 57 minutes into the movie. I
Uh-huh.
was bored to tears. And I was like, this is the worst thing I have ever seen in 2019. And I just saw Glass. I'm like, this is bad. I felt that there was way too. Now, what we did was we summarized something very quickly. What the movie in the first half is that it unnecessarily elongates things to the point where I could have easily cut out maybe 35 minutes of the first half and you could have still got a very decent film. There is way too much foreshadowing. There's every 5 seconds, there's a truck speeding by.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, there's these weird elements that don't make any sense where I'm assuming that the husband starts sleepwalking. And there's the guy who was, like I said, there was the student who was hit by a truck. And he's like, that foreshadowing, something bad is going to happen. You can't cross the line. The border will be broken. And that's great and cool. But the problem is, none of that happens in that sense. Where it's not like this big barrier is now open and oh my God, you just created Armageddon. There's literally none of that. And it would have been more impactful if there was not a jump scare every 30 seconds.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, in that aspect, that first 57 minutes was awful. Everyone was literally on their phones because this is just boring. And it just didn't make any sense. It didn't tie into the second half of the film, which for me, I thought was freaking hilarious. It felt like a Bloomhouse production. And Bloomhouse is does Us. They did Get Out. They do all of the really fun horrors, Happy Death Day to You, where they really find like this really fun approach where you're like, this is a horror movie. She's dying, but I can't stop laughing. And that was my kind of hate and my kind of love. Also, maybe because I live differently in the sense of I wanted to scream at the characters so much because there were certain things that just didn't make any sense to me. Like if you have that much acreage in your that you own, you should kind of one know the property. That's just like
Oh
simple.
yeah.
And it's not like, hey, my house is built on a burial ground that I didn't know of. It's like you literally step in the backyard and oh look, there's a cemetery. Maybe you've not known about the voodoo cemetery, but the regular pet cemetery. If that's cool with you, then hey, that's cool with you. But it just didn't seem like they did any research on what they owned. Where they was like,
They
we own all of this. I didn't even know. Like,
they
oh,
they they didn't do any research, and
no.
then when the wife and the daughter both say, you know what, I just want to go back to Boston. He said, well, no, we're not going back. So no
Yeah,
attempt to even leave when you see all this stuff is happening. It just doesn't make any sense.
it's that trope that I hate where it's always like, we're not leaving. We live here, darn it. And like the serial killers in the house killing everyone and they just run back up the stairs and they're like, no, I'm not leaving. So that is something that really got on my nerves. Also, the part on the fact that they don't seem to know that their own people only drive Mack trucks in that neighborhood. These I promise there's literally no car. We see one car, and that's the family car that got to the house. We don't see any cars. It's just Mack trucks running and speeding. And even if that's the case, common sense would be like, I should build a fence because I have kids and they like to run. Like I was with a toddler. They may be small, but they have this energy that I've never seen before in my life, and it's weird. And they will take off running, and you literally have to run a marathon to get after them.
Oh
So some
yeah.
people like maybe build a fence so that even if you still get hit by the truck, maybe they won't wander into the woods and get kidnapped by the weird John Lithgow character who seems to just know everything about weird voodoo stuff and likes to talk to random little girls in the woods. That's just me. Like,
No.
build a fence. I don't get it. Or at least know where your children are at. That would just be helpful because a lot of times they just don't know where their kids are at and they're just like, oh, we don't care. They're happy. So that's like the tropes that I really kind of hate. but yeah, that was in it. But yeah, it was two different movies. It felt like for me.
I got you. Yes. Well, those are great points of view. Uh, as for what I liked and did not like, let me go to what I liked about the movie. Um, I liked that they attempted to change or misdirect who exactly was the kid that got killed. Because in the original movie, uh, you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. I enjoyed the original movie a lot more than this version because of the fact that they killed the little kid, and the actor that played that little kid is such it really is heart wrenching to see the interactions that he had, like, oh, I love you, daddy, all this other stuff that makes you sad for the kid, like, oh, it's such an adorable kid, to when he actually transforms, comes back dead, and then even in death, because I remember in the original movie when the father killed him, he said, oh, no fair. It's like, those types of lines and that type of stuff. It's like, man, that kid is a really good actor, but man, it's sad, but you can't help but feel something for that character. So I appreciated that they tried to change the direction of course, having the daughter be the one that actually gets killed this time, because that was something that was different. But I don't really think that the execution was as good as it needed to be for that particular aspect. Because when I saw the trailer, it made me think that she actually was the embodiment of the sister, the mother's sister. Because I in the trailer, you see, obviously the sister had the spinal disease,
Like a
and you
spinal bifida thing.
yeah, yeah. So I was a little confused when I saw the theatrical trailer, because I saw the most recent trailer. It's like you see the characters on the ground. I thought, well, isn't that the little girl? The little girl is now the embodiment of the sister that had the spinal thing, but that's not the direction that they took with this. So I was confused about that when I actually saw the movie. Like, well, no, she doesn't have that. She's just trying to kill the parents. So, which is fine. That's totally fine. But yeah, that's a little misdirection with the trailer. Um, the other thing that I did like that they tried to do is, obviously we knew about how this story was going to end. In terms of, well, we knew that, well, we assumed the father was going to get killed, because that's what happened in the original movie. But again, the little kid, the little boy, didn't get killed, and that ending where you see the kid inside the car looking at his dead family now coming towards him, man, that's pretty fucked up visual right there.
The thing,
But
I think times have changed where the sense of you can't kill little kids anymore. I
yeah,
just I feel that people would be really sensitive towards that. And here's the thing, and I kind of agree with you in the aspect of the kids, that I didn't think about this before, but I really would have loved more scenes of the family interacting together and
yeah,
the kids interacting with each other. Because by the time that we get to the deaths, I'm not every parent, if you're in your right mind, you're going to miss and love and grieve for your kid. But as a viewer, I didn't feel that connection between the parent and the child for either one of them. And you look at the boy and you're like, oh yeah, he's so cute and he's doing, I love you, daddy. Good morning. And that's really sweet. But I don't see any type of emotional connection between any of them. So when the death does occur, it doesn't have that impact that it has on the parents for the
is it?
audience.
You
And
see,
yeah,
you hit it right on the head, because that emotional connection that you're describing, I totally saw that in the original movie.
okay,
Not in this one. Not
right.
in this one. But
Okay.
in the original movie, yes, because when that little boy got hit, I was like, yeah, I felt really, really sad when I saw that happen, and then all the stuff that happened, and you definitely care about that character. But no, I agree. But no, continue. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no, and also for me, um, the thing is, I was kind of wondering if, the twist that they did, and they had the girl who instead died. I kind of felt that we've seen this before. And I would have preferred if the boy died because we always see the really nice, sweet girl, and now all of a sudden she's the evil kid. And, you know, what, The Ring, I don't know. I'm really bad at these horror movie type things, but we've seen that kind of character before where they can be really sweet, but they may also be a serial killer.
That's a very good point. Yes.
So I kind of would have appreciated if they did the boy. I don't know if there's many toddlers that can like play scenes like that, aside from just being cute and adorable. But it would have been interesting, I think, to have seen. But I will say this: the actress who plays the little girl, she gave it her all.
Oh yeah.
She was very. I don't know if she had a stunt double or what how they pulled it off, but I feel that she was just very brilliant in what they gave her, and I really enjoyed watching her. And she, when she was time to play evil, she was evil. But I really, again, wish I would have seen that kind of sweetness when she was alive. Just
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I didn't get like, oh my god, she's so adorable, and I didn't have any type of emotional connection to anything.
Well, hey, that's I think that's fully understood. Um, yeah, they probably could have did a better job with that. Um, so
I like
so.
the cat. The cat actually had more personality and more
That's
emotional give than the whole cast.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in my screening, yeah, a lot of people was laughing at that cat when that cat was turning on the people, scratching them, and all this other stuff. Yeah, they were laughing.
Like it
So
wasn't just a scratch. I've encountered evil cats before where it's like, I hate you. This cat, I don't know if it was if they did puppeteering or how they did the cat, but the look of the cat was this constant state of, I am so pissed at you right now. I want
oh
to
yeah,
pee your soul. I want to pee on your soul and watch you die. And it was all in just the eyes. It was literally just the eyes and how they did the matted fur, but the eyes was so expressive. It was amazing.
oh yeah, absolutely. And now we see why the cat had such a prominent space on the movie poster that we saw a couple weeks ago.
So bad. But that
Yeah.
cat, yeah, that's an award-winning cat.
So one other thing that I did want to mention, and then I'll go on to the next question about the movie that I saw that they tried to do. I was a little confused of them trying to do this, but I understand what they were doing. I think they probably could have pushed it a little bit further. Is when in the moment when the little girl killed Judd, and there was a transformation to his wife. Now that right there, what I got out of that scene is that there was another secret that they suggested that he buried his wife in that cemetery, and she possibly came back. I mean, I was a little confused because I know that when the dog got buried, it was because he took the dog to the pet cemetery, his dog, and the dog came back, and the father had to put the dog down. I understood that, but I was trying to understand the parallels of his wife because his wife, when the daughter came to kill Judd, they showed the face of his wife. So I was a little confused. I didn't know if that meant that he had something to do with what happened to his wife, or is it just that she knew that he did wrong by telling the other character, the father, about the cemetery in the first place. So I was a little confused with that part because I thought they were trying to say, yeah, he also did something to his wife, and that
Yeah.
was her haunting him now that in the form of the daughter. So I was
See,
confused about that.
that's odd because I got a completely different take.
Okay.
She was really mad and really, angry at him. But it felt like she was angry, she said, of how you treated me. And so I
Ah.
was alive, he was abusive. and was not that loving, endearing husband, but maybe was very abusive and violent towards her. And, by her coming, that image of her coming back was like, I'm going to be the one to kill you because of what you put me through when I was alive.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good because similar to when you take the wife and her sister, and the fact that she prayed for her sister to die because she didn't really want to be around her because of how bad her sister's condition was and how uncomfortable it was to have to give her food, serve her, and be around her and stuff like that. So, but of course, we saw what essentially happened to the sister, the whole way of how they played up how she died, and that was different because that was not something that they showed in that original movie. So, but yeah, I guess you could say that the abuse does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the neglect and the abuse. So okay, that's two parallels. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so with all that said, I guess the next question I want to ask. So you said what you liked and didn't like. Um, so what do you think is, if you had to compare this to the original, which do you think is better and why?
See, I originally was going to say the second one because of how um, funny it was, but funny in a bad way. I kind of felt like this would have worked better. Again, if you took about shave 35 minutes off of it in the
uh,
first half and maybe threw it on a streaming platform service, that it would have been really great. And it could have easily been a hit. And I felt that, not everything necessarily belongs in movie theater, especially now when you have to pay roughly around $20 to $25, at least in New York City. Movie. I know, like where you live, it's like $5 a day, and that's it.
oh no, not five. It's more than that. But yeah,
I'm sorry, 650.
yeah.
But I kind of felt that, hmm, I emotionally, the original was much better, but just in the updated, if you want to take a funnier, lighthearted approach of just ridiculousness, I think they were both pretty ridiculous. The second one was not that. The first one wasn't that great either, and kind of went off to that ridiculous way as well. It's kind of hard to say because if you was to take both movies, they're both better halves of each other. So they both kind of work, but they're both kind of meh.
Yeah.
But I will say, in terms of a tighter script, that oddly the 2019 version works like 1% better.
Okay.
One
Yeah.
percent. 1%. Like they're both pretty bad, but together they make a perfect whole. So yeah. I really don't know how to answer that. I just can't. It's just really hard.
Oh no, I think that's a good answer. Um, so if I was to ask myself that same question, I definitely think. I mean, I will say this: I like the cast that they had for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought everybody did a pretty good job. If I was to compare this one or the other one, which is better, I lean more towards the original. Not really just because of the emotional aspect of it, but I just feel like from a storytelling standpoint, there's a lot of things a lot more context that was given in that movie that was a lot more clear. Now, you mentioned earlier about when the father started having these whole things where he's walking outside, the ghost is talking to him. It was very clear and distinct. That's what was happening in the original movie. Like you knew when you saw the character get up. Um, you knew he was outside, and then when he woke up, he was still outside. So some of that stuff was a lot more clear in context. Also, one thing I really, really like about the original movie is I think the writers thought a little bit more about how to use that particular character, the ghost of the dead student, because I recall they had this whole thing in the first movie where the wife could not get in contact with the husband and decided to travel back to, to basically get back to him. And and it seemed like she tried so many ways, tried to catch a flight, tried to do this or that or other. The ghost was trying to warn her, don't go. At one point the ghost was saying go, but then he kept making things happen to prevent her from getting to her destination. But eventually she got to the destination.
Now that you explain it that way, the original sounds much more better.
Yes. Oh yeah. Because it's like the writers thought a little bit more about how to utilize some of the characters. That character genuinely did try to help, but then when it got to a point, and they even had the whole monologue where she finally was able to get hitchhike and get a ride back to the actual house after all these warnings, and then he said, "Well, they're not going to allow me to go any further," and that was it. Things are not going to end well, and of course it didn't end well. So it kind of like there was a little bit more thought brought into explaining things just a little bit more. Um, but and then of course when they actually killed Judd in that first movie, yeah, that was disturbing. It was the same thing where the slit of the back of the foot, but then you also had the toddler boy jump on top of him and was biting him into his flesh and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a disturbing image. See, in this one, you just see the daughter just straight up just stab this guy, stab him to death. So
Yeah, she looked like a little demon thing. It's creepy. But now that you explain it that way, I just felt like they underutilized a lot of the characters then.
yeah, well, that's definitely my my opinion. I'm sure that there will be others that will disagree with that. That's just my personal opinion, because it felt like they wanted to explain things a little bit more so that people could understand. Because I mean, when I saw the original one, like years ago, a long time ago, maybe there was some stuff that I didn't understand. But then when I saw it like a couple of days ago, I was like, yeah, I now I understand it. And then the other thing I like about that movie is, like, when you want to get like a terrifying, annoyingly horrifying scene. One of the scenes I remember from that movie in particular was the scene where, of course, the wife is having these hallucinations about her sister, and then that scene where she gets to the house where Gage is there, Gage has risen from, he's alive again and ready to kill her. It's like she opens that door and has the hallucination of the sister, and then the sister gets up from the bed and says, "Oh yeah, you're what he said with that line about you'll never walk again," or something like that. And then they show the character coming towards the screen, like up, like a close up. Man, when I saw that as a kid, I was scared. I was like, "Wow, whoa." Yeah, that's a little disturbing. But yeah, stuff like that. It felt like they had a little bit more of that thing in place. But that doesn't take away anything from the new film. There's still things that you can like about it and dislike about it, I guess. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like it's two different films. This feels like
Yes,
updated, whether for good or for bad, but updated.
absolutely. So the last question I will ask, uh, is this a movie that you would recommend that people should see? And
Not even paying for it. Like, take it to just, I don't know, maybe because I'm just always so poor. But it kind of just feels, again, it feels like it's one of those movies that you just wait for a streaming service or DVD. Like, it's not something that you have to rush out and see.
yeah,
It doesn't have that kind of state of urgency. Where I feel that there are two other movies that's opening on the same day, which is The Best of Enemies and Shazam. And I kind of feel that if you was to choose between those three, Shazam, Best of Enemies, and Pet Sematary, Pet Sematary should not be your priority. It's just,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, I'm not saying don't see the movie, just don't make it your priority.
Ouch, ouch. That's painful.
But if again, if I just kind of I feel that it was Hulu has these really great horrors that's like kind of ridiculous that Bloomhouse is doing with them. Where like there's like one New Year, New Me or something, and it's kind of like funny and weird and quirky, and it's a horror. I just felt that Pet Cemetery would have fit lovely with that whole kind of like Bloomhouse type vibe. Again, if they took out the 35 minutes of it. It's just one of those things that I would have been really strong if they put it on Hulu. So because I'm saying that, I just don't feel that it's something like you need to see in the theater. You need the screen, you need the sound, you need all this. You can have the very same enjoyment of the movie and experience that evil cat by watching it on your phone or your computer through a streaming service.
That is a very fair point, and I don't think that could be argued. Um, yeah, I I and as for my opinion, yeah, I mean obviously there are a lot of movies coming out this month. Some of which I recommend that you see day one. So
Coffee
a
in
certain
game.
yes, Endgame is a day one. That's a day one movie,
It's not
especially.
even a game. Remember, like half of the of the U.S. right now couldn't get tickets because everything crashed.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, well, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm aware of that. I did get my ticket, but unfortunately, it will not be for me to see it on day one. I'll see it like on Friday instead now.
He's day three.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So on that note, I would say if you like horror movies, I mean, there are a lot of options. I definitely say that you should go see Us because Us is a you think man that movie you'll have a lot of thought to after you see that movie.
Spoilers, because I haven't seen it yet. No spoilers. I'm avoiding
Oh,
everything.
yeah, you need to see it. You definitely should see it. Um, yeah. But as far as this movie is concerned, you could wait if you decide. But if you want to get out and you want to see something, some type of I guess horror that'll also make you laugh, then yeah, go see it. But matinee at least, because I don't want you spending $20 and then come back complaining, saying, "Hey, you told me
Don't
to go see this movie." No, no, no. Matinee is a good. It's totally fine if the matinee is cheap. Then yeah, that's fine.
us,
I'll say what?
us,
Oh
us,
no,
Matt.
no. Oh no.
Oh,
I'm saying Pet Cemetery.
okay, yeah. Well, if you're in New York, Tuesdays.
Well, there you go. There you go. But yeah, but do not pay $20 to go
Don't pay
see Pet Cemetery. Do not go pay any, 20, 25, hell no. No. Just
attention.
no, don't pay that much.
Bring
Don't
your
don't
own popcorn.
yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So
But I say one thing now, just as like a note.
what's that?
The director in March of literally a couple days ago, the producer actually, the Bonaventura, had admitted that if this film is successful, so if you run out and you get your $20 tickets and you get your popcorn,
Yeah.
that if it's successful, there's a possibility that they will do a prequel and it will contain everything that happens before the Creed family moves in.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Prequel.
A prequel. Because if you read the book, like again, Stephen King is very detailed, and you'll be reading this
So
for a while. There's a lot of details of what happens before the Creed family moves in, and he would like to use that source material for a prequel.
now that I have heard this information, the question I will ask is why didn't they just do that movie in the first place instead of making this one?
Because I think it sells better.
Okay,
Pet
okay,
Sematary, what is this reboot? Remake instead of the Pet Cemetery prequel. Because then you're like, what's a Pet Cemetery? Do the remake and then do the prequel.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people haven't seen the original, so that's that. Okay, I totally understand that. Okay, all right. So we'll see. I mean, if I had to make an early prediction, I think Shazam is going to be number one at the box office this week, and this could be in the top three. It could be, but it depends because
Depends.
I
Yeah, I can.
I, I completely forgot Best of Enemies is also coming out the same day. So
I don't
that's
see people flocking to Best of Enemies. Not because it's bad, but just it's a different kind of. It's like a smaller movie.
so in other words, this would probably be number two then. That's what you're saying.
Yo, yeah, yeah, yeah. Shazam is definitely number one, and
Okay.
as it should be, which
Okay.
because it's not sucky.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, we shall see. But in the meantime, any final thoughts you want to say on Pet Cemetery before we wrap up this discussion?
A darn unintentionally funny film. Plenty of time enjoying my phone for the first 57 minutes.
Oh, geez. Oh,
The cat needs an award.
the cat. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the cat will get some type of reward.
The cat needs an award. It needs to be recognized. I don't know how they did that cat. I don't know if it was like a combination of puppeteering and, a cat, but all of the Maine Coons, I'm assuming it's Maine Coon, you deserve that award. You did good, boo boo.
Yes, absolutely. So, on that note, thank you all for listening to this discussion. Please feel free to leave your comments. Let us know what you think of the movie if you had a chance to see it. And we will talk to you all next time.
Bye.